There is a version of you that only appears under one condition: no witnesses, no guidance, no safety net. Not the version you perform for others. The version that exists when the room is empty and the decision is entirely yours. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding that room. This is a guide to walking into it, 12 times, on purpose. 1. Audit your own behavior with the objectivity of a stranger. Step outside your life for a moment and evaluate it the way an outsider would, without the excuses you've rehearsed for yourself. Ask plainly, would this pattern of behavior earn respect if it belonged to someone else? Self-deception is rarely intentional. It is simply easier to critique a stranger than to correct yourself. The discipline is in closing that gap. 2. Remove input entirely, for 1 full hour. No media, no conversation, no background noise. Just unfiltered attention on your own mind. What surfaces in that silence is usually the truth you've been outrunning, quietly, but persistently. This exercise is uncomfortable precisely because it works. 3. Make 1 irreversible decision without seeking counsel. There is a category of decision that cannot be delegated, not to a mentor, a partner, or a crowd of opinions online. At some point, the responsibility for your direction has to sit with you alone. Certainty is not a prerequisite for ownership. 4. Sustain effort in the absence of any audience. Public recognition is easy to perform for. Private discipline is not. The distinction between people who achieve lasting results and those who don't is rarely talent, it is whether they kept working during the stretch where no one was paying attention. 5. Occupy a public space alone, without distraction. Sit in a restaurant, a cafe, a waiting room, alone, without a device to hide behind. The discomfort isn't circumstantial, it's the sensation of being visible without an audience to validate you. Tolerating that discomfort is a quiet form of independence. 6. Recognize when loyalty has become self-sabotage. Not every relationship that has lasted deserves to continue. Distinguish clearly between loyalty and habit. Some people occupy a role in your life simply because removing them feels harder than keeping them. Growth occasionally requires that removal. 7. Accept being misread by people who knew an earlier version of you. As your standards change, your decisions will stop making sense to people who are still operating on outdated information about who you are. This is not a communication failure. It is the natural cost of development, and it does not require resolution. 8. Decline a request without justifying the decision. Notice how often "no" is followed immediately by an explanation nobody asked for. That explanation is often a request for permission disguised as courtesy. A boundary that requires a defense isn't fully yours yet. 9. Write without an audience in mind. Set aside 10 uninterrupted minutes. Write only for yourself, with no intention of it ever being read. Most people never access their own unfiltered thinking because they're always, on some level, composing for someone else. This exercise removes that constraint. 10. Hold an unanswered question without resolving it prematurely. Not every open question demands an immediate answer. The instinct to resolve uncertainty quickly often produces the wrong conclusion. Some clarity only arrives after deliberate, patient reflection, not after a search engine or a second opinion. 11. Abandon a path that no longer serves you, and start again. Restarting is difficult not because the new path is unclear, but because it requires relinquishing a familiar identity. The discomfort of starting over is frequently mistaken for evidence that you're on the wrong track. Often, it's simply evidence that you're doing something unfamiliar. 12. Assume full ownership of what happens next. Circumstances are not always fair, and some of what you've carried was never your doing. But responsibility for the future is not conditional on how the past was distributed. The moment you stop waiting for that to be corrected is the moment your trajectory becomes entirely your own. Each of these tests shares a common condition: no one is coming to administer them for you, and no one will grade the result. That is precisely why they matter. The strongest version of anyone is not built in company, it's built in the 12 rooms most people never choose to enter alone. This has been Neurovexis Studio. If this was useful, subscribe, leave a comment on which one you're facing right now, and I'll see you in the next one.